Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Shadow Talk. Today I'm joined by Samuel and Diet once again as we reflect on the Battlefield Portal announcement revealed at EA Play. There's a lot to dive into, so let's kick it off with a chat about how Portal will work as a gameplay element.
Well, guys, aren't we in for a nostalgia trip all over again now, going back to the roots of what we've enjoyed and what's made Battlefield for us as long-time veteran players of this game. Like going back to Bad Company 2, that would have been my first FPS game ever. I think it's similar for yourself, Doug.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, that was the first game I ever played on my PlayStation.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and I actually owned the game before I even owned the PlayStation to begin with, so yeah, a big nostalgia trip for me.
Oh my god. That was my first game when I played on really crappy internet and I couldn't figure out why it would disconnect every 5 minutes, but I loved it so much that I would play it and disconnect every 5 minutes and get into the same server over and over again.
Wow, that's a determination.
Yeah, I used to steal helicopters and land them where I could find them again.
Yeah, that was definitely probably my first BF actual online experience over, say, just trying demos of 1942 or stuff like that. And most of the time, Battlefield was a very big PC thing. So console, for Bad Company 2 at least. I know Bad Company 1 was on the consoles, but I think 2 definitely blew it up in the console area.
And even in speaking of first, wasn't Valparaiso the map that we're getting in this? That was our first clan match with TSC, wasn't it, on that map?
It was Urban Warfare Specialist, and I think it was probably the first map we played competitively, Valparaiso.
We're going to have to try and contact those guys and reenact our first clan match.
We'll win this time.
Oh, I'm so happy with the 2 maps that we actually got chosen for Bad Company as well, because Arca Harbour, hands down, was the best map on Bad Company, and we played Rush back then. That was the best Rush map I played on that game.
And we're probably going to get more. The way I see it is this is going to be expanded as the game expands. Well, that's what I believe will happen at least.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a live service that's actually coming with the game, but it's definitely something that's going to be drip fed to keep hype the whole time, to keep the game for a whole life cycle. And it's very easy to keep adding when the maps are already designed in a certain way. They just need to upgrade them per se.
Yeah,
if you've already got a map that you know that works, they can just focus on the fidelity of that map.
100%.
yeah, definitely. And they said how it's going to be 2 maps, I'm guessing, per season. I'm going to guess that they toned down the amount of battlefields to very specific periods of time. I'd say a couple years apart, obviously. I mean, 1942 was the first. Bad Company 2, like we said, was one of those big console openers. 3 was the big modern one, fighting with Modern Warfare 3, and then obviously you got 2042. And I wonder if each season is going to focus on each one of those and bringing something back. But, I mean, I wouldn't be against something like Vietnam maybe having something too.
I didn't even think about that. But do you know what's interesting is the eras that Battlefield has split over the years has actually subdivided the community, and new players that have came to the franchise with the World War I and II games, they expect something totally different from Battlefield in terms of what then we'll say the more veteran type players from Bad Company, 1942, Battlefield 3 and 4. Those 3 games alone are quite different from each other even. But for those that have maybe, even with the games going free on PSN and when the PS5 came out, on PlayStation itself, totally different players that are playing the game. You can tell even when you're playing those games that they're totally different how they play. But even speaking to people that I know that have just played those games, they don't know what to expect from these games. So it's going to be interesting that they've found a way that Portal now facilitates everyone to be bridged into one place and cross-platform with it. Talk about a perfect storm to have a lot of players interested in this game now.
The thing I find is interesting is that they've always done remastered maps and things for games, even for Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, I believe, and whatnot. And that's always been great, but they've always brought the new elements into that. But what's interesting is actually bringing the remastered vehicles, weapons, classes, factions with it as well.
They've brought enough to emulate the previous games in the new engine, basically.
Hopefully, they don't go too far with it. I can see people expecting to be able to basically play Battlefield 3 again, and I hope they don't do that because I think that could hold the game back. I'd rather they could play Battlefield 3-esque moments in the Battlefield 2042 universe.
I really hope that when it comes to Bad Company 2's maps, that they actually still embrace all that destruction of like a whole building falling down. And I actually hope maybe even that all just comes full stand with all the modes. And I hope that that stays and doesn't go anywhere, because it seemed like BF3 and 4 kind of eluded the total destruction aspect that Bad Company 2 had, and it seemed a little odd.
Yeah, I can get alongside that. The destruction's gone downhill progressively, so if we get that back, that would be a positive in my book.
Be interesting to see how maybe the destruction could be. Could it be slightly different on the maps, or it must be kind of universal throughout, no matter what?
I'd guess it was universal.
Yeah.
Part of the engine.
But you know, some of the larger buildings, we'll say on Arica Harbour, where you had the small buildings that would be totally destroyed, as we know it from Battlefield 1 and 5 even. But then there's these larger ones that have like metal beams and all, and they fully collapse, and where they almost look like ramps of concrete that you can navigate inside of. I wonder, will that be still similar?
And I wonder if maybe if that is a thing, if they bring like the BF5 thing where you can actually build something back up. Maybe enough people can, hammer on something, that part of a building can get kind of restored, not fully brought to life, but you know what I mean.
More cover, maybe, things like that. Do you know what's also interesting is also that how we're going to enjoy, we'll say Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3 is what I know. 1942 will be new for me, which is a nice thing about this. And it'll be similar for other people for the Battlefields they've missed out on. But as console players, we're going to get to enjoy Bad Company 2. I think they had higher player counts on PC, but Battlefield 3 they definitely did. Where we're going to get to enjoy how it was meant to be played. Because it's kind of like how PS4 players are going to be playing this game when it first comes out. They're going to be limited on player counts. That's where we were on PS3 when PC got the full whack. So it's going to be nice to relive some of those moments that way.
It's crazy to think how 12v12 was somehow working Bad Company 2 and 3, and then you realize people were like, oh yeah, there was like 32-man servers or whatever, and PC, and 64-player servers on PC for Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3, and you're just like, what? That's not fair.
It could be nostalgic in a sense that we're getting these maps again, but completely brand new because we haven't experienced them at this scale before.
Definitely on that sense.
And this is only half of what we're going to get from Battlefield Portal. When you think about the experience builder and everything that we can potentially build with that.
With the logic building stuff, yes.
If we just take it from an esports event style approach, we can pretty much do proper esports with this. We could build a situation or an environment in which you can define your rules and all the things that we have currently, but part of the game, and the game enforces those rules.
I was thinking about this a lot myself, with how if you can code the full logic of, we'll say, rules, how they vary a lot more from the esports side of things, where a lot of things get banned. We'll say on BF5 you can ban stuff on the servers you can run while you're online running the server, but we'll say if you want to ban a particular shotgun, you have to ban the whole class of shotguns, not just one. And from what I can see, you can ban particular things like that and have a lot more control. You can tailor it so that it's impossible to break the rules.
Well, I'm sure those badmins that love the no stingers will love that.
If they use the stinger, then automatically kick them from the server.
I wonder, is there going to be logic to limit how many classes can be on the field, like how many recons are allowed? Because maps like, we'll say, for example, Firestorm, some of those maps get ruined by having too many recons up on the mountains. If it limited how many recons could be on the map, that would be really good for gameplay on people's servers. That would actually make a huge, huge difference that's actually needed. And that's what they had in older Battlefield titles.
That's an interesting approach. I guess the thing is that it has to still fit within the realms of Battlefield, so as long as that's something they've built into the game or preempted, then I don't see why not. I know that people are going to be saying, oh, I can't make a Battle Royale. Well, that's not Battlefield. You shouldn't. The Portal, yeah, it's good, but it's not that good.
I could definitely say that there'll be a community somewhere, like there's going to be, like, Discord groups are going to be a thing, and the Battlefield Discord will have ways in communicating to join certain things. You could easily still run a battle royale on a server where you have the logic built for it, you create it, you get people to join at the start, and then it's a one life system, except there's just no ring, but it's still a deathmatch where you have to try and survive. Maybe have something that's incentivized for people to move towards objectively, so that it forces people to fight and not camp or sit on a hill with a sniper rifle. It's possible. There's a lot of fun to be had, and I can imagine a battle royale with maybe a HUD turned off and everything, and it's free for all. Instead of having 2 teams, you couldn't do that before. I think you're able to make it every man for himself with the different rules that you can set up. There's definitely scope to do some fun community stuff like that as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a whole lot of things that in theory they could be doing. I mean, there's so many modes and things from all these different battlefields and games that they could implement. In fact, I think Bad Company 2 even had a multi-team thing of like small groups, and then you had Firestorm. So the thing is now, do they bring all this kind of stuff in at the start? Because I have a feeling the start's going to be pretty bare bones, and I hope it blows up and turns into something that can keep expanding, because this has enough potential to turn into something like what Call of Duty Online was being for China, where it was basically all these Call of Duties mashed together, and now it's basically what COD Mobile is now. And Battlefield has the chance to put that on PCs, consoles, and totally throw Call of Duty off its heels and totally bring Battlefield back into the scene.
Like you said, this could become something bigger over time, and I hope that DICE have invested some time into listening to the community and focusing on building what people want.
Honestly, I hope that this does something kind of like what Microsoft's doing with Halo, where make this free. Let people just be able to play this, experience Battlefield however they want. A friend of mine brought in that maybe progression might not be something that's involved in it, so your 2042 stuff might not count while playing this sort of portal zone, but this would be awesome. This would be just the perfect multiplayer custom games mess around kind of thing, that if it was free, people would eat this up.
It's definitely a Battlefield that's going to unify the current player base and also bring people from other FPS games. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, it definitely has that ability for sure. Just all those different generations of Battlefield games, gameplay style, and just nostalgia factor to be able to just totally unify. And I think that's why so many people are excited about this, is that for once it's not sticking to just one kind of thing, like, oh, it's a modern game, I like World War II ones, well, there's this. Or it's World War II but not modern, and kind of bring everyone back together, especially the Bad Company 2 people, because people have been asking for 3 for years now.
And even the reach and wide appeal that it's going to have because of that, but also the fact it's cross-platform. I know cross-platform will have its issues, but in terms of going away from maybe the main kind of ranked, we'll say, way in playing that we're used to, this community aspect, if you can bring everyone who plays Battlefield, no matter what they play it on, into one server and do these crazy amazing things, that's how you breathe longevity into the game. And having that logic builder, it's almost a twisted way in looking at it, as saying now you can have modded servers. A modding community for any game is how you breathe longevity into a game for it to last for a long time. I think I was saying this in the last podcast, that I was anticipating this Battlefield to be the Battlefield we're playing for the next couple of years. I think Battlefield 4, we've been playing over a decade. I started it on PS3 and I've been playing it on a freaking PS5. So I think it's going to be similar with this Battlefield.
As soon as you add community elements to a game, you just increase the lifespan of it, don't you? You make it more enjoyable for people to create their own experiences, and this new logic edit is going to do that from the start without all the hacks and things that you have to do.
It comes down to replayability. That's why Battlefield 4 was played for so long by so many, because there was a lot of maps, a lot of gadgets. It was the first Battlefield where they really reached out the span of gadgets you had in your arsenal, the guns, the variations, even how the classes worked. They had a good design in terms of having carbines available for all classes. PDWs, wasn't it? It was a nice mix, shotguns even. Whereas when you go to games like Battlefield 1 and 5, they were limited into certain classes. And for example, the Recon then, you're stuck with only sniper rifles or 2 pistol guns, and that is it. The replayability factor goes down when you have more limitation and variety. But with what they're going to give us with this game, variety is going to be the spice of this game.
When I get my hands on a logic editor, one of the first things I'm going to try and build is a gun master tournament, because I love that thing on Battlefield 3. You know, the it cycles through the guns. Everybody, as soon as you get a kill, you go forward to a level, and when you get knifed, you go backwards a level.
Yes.
I think those are brilliant.
Maybe make it progressive, where it goes maybe from 2042 down to World War II through the years. You wouldn't go the other way because it gets easier. You have to make it easy and then hard. That could be a fun way to progress it. You're going backwards in time.
Those rules could be in there. That came, if I remember correctly, came in with the Close Quarters DLC with BF3. So, I mean, in theory, it could just be already in there. And you can maybe do what you said, Sam, is just adjust the tiers and however weapons, kind of the thing like with gun game, with Call of Duty, is where, like you said, you make it harder, not easier.
What about you, Dave? What's your go-to logic editor built game mode?
Personally, I would definitely like things to be more restricted. I think restricting, like what Sam was saying, like class amounts would be pretty cool. Some sort of a form of conquest. I definitely think BF3 would maybe be my go-to, or Bad Company 2. I would just hope the destruction's there to go with it, because I'd love to be able to experience that kind of stuff again. And maybe a limited amount of vehicles. One side can get like a tank, the other side can get like a lav or something, and they the teams have to kind of fight to keep them alive. And that was a big thing that made Rush so crazy fun. It was like one side would get like a T90, you'd have like 3 engineers right behind it, drilling it, keeping it alive. It was just really fun. And not max tickets, but maybe a little higher of a ticket count for longer games.
I don't know if you've heard, but there'll even be functions that you'll be able to edit in the logic of servers that you create, where you can actually stop prone and stuff like that. So you can really emulate the likes of Bad Company 2. One thing I haven't heard though is if you can bring back the suppression from Battlefield 3.
Just as long as it doesn't involve the random bullet deviation alongside it.
In terms of, though, we'll say where the community will form, they will form habits of what the norm will be, of what's fun to play and what gets populated, what people hop into. There'll definitely be a void at the start, Rogue, where, as you said it, not everyone will be building these complex server settings that'll be quite fun to play with once they're kind of put together. But to maybe be ahead of that pack, to have a certain standard of like maybe settings for Conquest, how it's meant to be played, or maybe just slightly better settings if they're still similar to what we're used to, or maybe even some of the crazy fun server community stuff that we've once done in the past, like nighttime zombie knife only, and last person that's alive gets a machine gun to survive. Then things like that will be, yeah.
Oh, that'd be something. I wonder if changing night and day is a thing. Dusk, dawn, all that.
Oh, I would love that.
There's so many possibilities, isn't there? And we're going to have to wait to see what depth this editor has and how much we can change. And hopefully we'll get a first look at that in the beta in September.
I cannot wait to hop into that beta.
Indeed.
I'll have to get my pre-order in to get access.
I'll be right there with you. And on that note, let's wrap it up. Thanks again for tuning in, and if you liked it, give us a like. Subscribe for more, and if you want to learn more about TSC, visit our website. The link will be in the description below. Catch you next time.